Hey guys, it's Nicholas here from upgradeToLife.com and welcome to this video which is called Is it possible to imagine several things at once? Right? Is it possible to manifest several things at once? And first of all, the straightforward answer, right, that is why you're watching this video, is yes. However, I see this question really often in the comment section also, which is when I speak with people about manifesting, about Neville's teachings, and some people have difficulties when they have several goals. How can they, condense them? How can they confine them? How can they, stop nitpicking the process where it feels like that they have to manifest thing after thing after thing instead of making it, one manifestation that includes all of these goals together, right? And Neville also got asked this question, and, he shares right now his answer. He shares his approach that he takes to manifest and to imagine several things at once. So I want to point this out right now. I want to give you his answer, and then I want to give you my comments on that, because I think that this is a turning point that helps you from a trying the law and just using it as a tool to get you some things to implying it in your life with like a dynamic way. The dynamic way of manifesting is how I like to call it and also teach it to my students, which means that whenever a desire comes to you, instead of waiting, instead of, imagining this and then you imagine another thing, like you should always keep it dynamic. When a desire comes up, you can straightforward, bath yourself in the end of that, right? There's nothing to wait here. You don't have to wait until the end of the day before you go to bed and, imagine something while you drift off to sleep. You can do this in the course of a day when you have 3 or 5 desires and goals coming up and you feel them within you. You can already imaginatively experience the end of that. You can say, I remember when this was the case for me. Now this is the case for me, right? So you should always keep this law really dynamically and not see manifesting as a chronological step by step. You should always plant new seeds. You should always live in the non-physical, in the invisible, right? In your imagination more than you take the cue from the facts. But right now, let's dive into Neville's answer to this question. Is it possible to imagine several things at once? So here is what Neville said to his students. So he said, personally, I like to confine my imaginal act to a single thought, but that does not mean I will stop there. During the course of a day, I may imagine many things. But instead of imagining lots of small things, I would suggest that you imagine something so big it includes all the little things. Instead of imagining wealth, health, friends, imagine being ecstatic. You could not be ecstatic and in pain. You could not be ecstatic and be threatened with a dispossession notice. You could not be ecstatic if you were not enjoying a full measure of friendship and love. So that's the first part. And the second part, what would the feeling be like were you ecstatic without knowing what had happened to produce your ecstasy? Reduce the idea of ecstasy to a single sensation. Isn't it wonderful? Isn't it just amazing? Right? Do not allow the conscious reasoning mind to ask why. Because if it does, it will start to look for visible causes. Like I always say, the mind will always look for proof, will always look for causes, will always look for evidence, right? And then the sensation will be lost. Rather, repeat over and over again, for example, isn't it wonderful? Isn't it great? Isn't it amazing? That's just one way. Suspend judgment as to what is wonderful. Catch the one sensation of the wonder of it all, and the things will happen to be a witness to the truth of this sensation. And I promise you, it will include all the little things. So, in my opinion, that is a perfect way. That is one perfect way to manifest several things, right? Neville is, just on this one page, you see the full answer already, right? So instead of nitpicking it, right, when you have the desire to have an amazing friendship life, when you have the desire to have a nice lifestyle, when you have the desire to be more financially stable, you have the desire for health, we humans, we have these humanly desires basically, then instead of, imagining a scene for that and a scene for that and an act for that and using a technique for that, you can condense it together into, for example, just the sensation of ecstasy, just the sensation of absolute bliss, right? So you can put yourself in the mood of isn't it so amazing how my life is? Isn't it so amazing that I, live this life that I want to live? Isn't it so amazing that I already live the life of my desired version of myself? And, just by this ecstatic mood, this will imply that all of these areas are solved. This will imply that, in all of these fields you have success. So one thing that I told my clients, for example, that I also occasionally, when I don't forget it, use, is that when I go to bed and also when I wake up, is that, I wake up in a really overwhelmingly blissful, powerful, kind of like feeling of achievement mood. But I put myself in that consciously. The same when I go to bed, right? When you go to bed this night, you can, even though, and this is what Neville is saying here, right? You don't look for physical causes, right? You don't ask why. You don't look for visible causes. You just assume this state of achievement, this state of excitement, this state of accomplishment, right? This state of ecstasy without there being proof. And then your world will give you proof because of that mood that you have alive within you, right? It's not the fortune that determines the mood, but it's the mood that determines people's fortune. So you have to master your mood consciously. And again, this is one perfect way, right? And you can play with that. You can see if you like that. I personally use both ways. So sometimes when I have several things, I just ask myself, okay, what would imply that all of these things have already manifested, right? So if I want, a fit body, and if I want also to, have amazing experiences with my friend, and I would ask myself, okay, what would imply that all of this is true already in my life? Maybe a comment from someone like, wow, like you seem to be never home. Like, how can you afford this lifestyle? Or that's just random imaginative congratulations scene that I heard, for example. And that implied for me that my lifestyle is as I want it to be, which includes several things at once. So the answer, is it possible to imagine several things at once? Yes, and you even should. You should not wait. You should not manifest step by step, because that will like unwittingly keep things at a distance and make manifesting seem like a task, like work, like a hard journey. No, you can make it fun. You can make it playful. You have to find a little bit of your own way. So I use both of that, right? Sometimes I condense things together, and sometimes, throughout my day when I have a desire for, let's say, meet up with a friend that I haven't seen for a really long while, then, instead of waiting until the evening and until I put myself in a really great mood, which is one way that you can do, I also just, when I'm relaxed or after I ate something, when I'm a little bit, calm and tired or whatever it is, I just close my eyes and experience that. Right, I experience the conversation that I would have with this friend, or I experience the dinner that I would maybe have with this friend to imply that I'm already, meeting him right now. Not imagining where he reaches out. Not imagining, how maybe we will get together. No, something where it already shows that it already have happened or is happening. Right, but better is something that implies the fulfillment instead of the moment of the fulfillment. So I could also hear a congratulation, someone asking me, or someone, not a congratulation, but just a conversation, someone asking me, hey, like, how was your dinner last night with X, Y, and Z? Right? So you have to, the more you apply the law, the more you play with it, the more you get your own unique personal way, and you see which techniques work for you, what doesn't align so much with you. So don't let anyone tell you this is the only way, because there are many different ways. They all do the same thing, which is bringing the desired state into the here and now. And this is how we can do it. Right? And you cannot be ecstatic, right? If you put yourself in an ecstatic mood, then that implies that everything is well. You could not be ecstatic if you were not enjoying, for example, the full measurement of friendship and love, or if you would be threatened with a dispossession notice, right? Then you could not be ecstatic. So being ecstatic means that great things happened. And then because you remain in that mood, your life has to show you proof of that. So I just challenge you to put yourself in that mood and see what your life brings. And instead of nitpicking the process, condense it into one single sensation. Ecstasy or bliss and just full accomplishment, full achievement, feel into that. This implies that you have achieved all of these little goals. And like Neville said, he promises that then this will include all your little things and that they will show up in your life, right? But when you do that, right, you can't allow the conscious reasoning mind to ask why. Right? Because if it does, it will start to look for visible causes. And again, this is always what the mind does. The mind needs proof. This is why I'm also not the biggest fan of affirmations, because when you just say that, then instantly the mind will look for proof. Like, is it there yet? Have you achieved it? Is there any sign that I'm on the right way? And then you build a little bit of resistance. So instead, put yourself in that mood. Let the mind, don't be tied to the mind, and see that what you experience in your imagination is existing. So suspend judgment as to what is wonderful, what is amazing, why are you in feeling of ecstasy? The mind will have then these questions come up like, yeah, but why do you just feel in this mood? There is no proof of it. That is what you have to suspend. That is where you have to let the mind be, not judge it, not label it, not be attached to it, not be like sucked into where the mind pulls you, and just remain in that accomplished state. And that's my answer, right? So the answer, is it possible to imagine several things at once? Absolutely yes, and you even should, right? It's not that you should do it step by step. Then there is something not really correct with your manifesting approach, in my opinion. You should definitely manifest, whenever you have a goal, invite it, let it in, and experience, bath yourself in the fulfillment of it. And if you have like much goals, then you can also condense them into this ecstatic kind of like mood and sensation. So that's it for this video. Definitely let me know in the comments down below if you have experienced that already, if you have manifested several things by condensing them and going straight to the end, and maybe imagine something that implies that all of these things have already manifested in your life, right? This is a really, really great thing. Or if you're more a fan of, kind of like going throughout your day-to-day life, and whenever a desire comes up, you bath yourself in the fulfillment of it. And I use both of it, like I said before. So that's it. I'm looking forward to speak to you in the next video. Bye, guys.